I feel like I look more like a goth Betty Boop. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and to another episode of Media Analysis, the series where I talk at length about goth/alternative characters in media. Today's episode is Ruby Gloom, a beloved early 2000s Canadian cartoon. Some disclaimers to get out of the way before I actually start talking about the show. I will not be covering every single episode because there's like 40 of them, and the majority of the episodes are just cute little one-off episodes. I'll only really be covering like lore-heavy episodes or ones with good character development. If you do want to watch the show, I found all of the seasons on Prime, which leads me to my next disclaimer. I won't be showing many pictures or screenshots from the show because Prime wouldn't let me take them, and I don't want to get struck by the Amazon gods, okay? But without further ado, let's talk about everyone's favorite Goth Redhead, Ruby Gloom. To give a little backstory to the show that I wasn't even aware of, Ruby Gloom was originally an illustration by Martin Hugh that got turned into a stationery line in 2001, and then became a show in 2006. You can still purchase Ruby Gloom merch at Hot Topic, and they still have some of the original designs on them. Very cool. So let's actually talk about the show. It ran from 2006 to 2008 for 3 seasons, and then got cancelled. I couldn't really find the reason why it got cancelled, but my best guess is that the ratings were decreasing as the show went on. The show follows Ruby and her friend group as they live in a giant Victorian-style mansion outside of a town called Gloomsville and have wacky adventures along the way. We have an amazing cast of characters. We have Ruby, our main girl, who just wants to make sure her friends are doing okay. Skullboy, a literal skeleton, and artist/crafter who is just trying to figure out who he is and where he comes from. We have Misery, literally misery personified. If anything bad happens, it's going to happen to her. The amount of times this girl gets struck by lightning, I swear. We have Iris, who is a cyclops. She is our outgoing, adventurous character. And finally we have Frank and Len, who are conjoined twins. Frank is the blue guy on the left, and Len is the green guy on the right. They're also very outgoing and love to play rock music. Frank is the more level-headed, realistic one, whereas Len is a few tools short of a toolbox, if you catch my drift. We also have some other characters like Doom Kitty, Ruby's cat, Scaredy Bat, who is a bat that is literally afraid of everything, Boo Boo, the resident house ghost, and Poe, who is a philosophical talking crow and part of a trio of crows, namely Edgar, Alan, and Poe. This show's already great. Some fun facts I had to cover before we get into the episodes. Skullboy is voiced by Scott McCord, who does the voice of Trent and Owen in the Total Drama series, which I have a Gwen media analysis video if you want to go check that out after this one. But all I can hear is Trent, and it was so funny. And last fun fact is the voice actress who plays Iris is married to the voice actor who plays Len. Love that. Okay, enough rambling and fun facts. Season 1, episode 1, let's go. Ruby is planning a surprise party for her friends. Throughout the episode, she avoids them so that they don't find out about the party. That leads to everyone thinking different things. Misery, Iris, and Skullboy think that it's Ruby's going away party and that she wants to move out, while Frank and Len think Ruby is dying and this party is going to be her funeral. Yikes. I think the first episode does a really good job of encapsulating everyone's personalities, like I went over before. I can't express how much the first episode does a great job of showing you these characters and how different they are, but how much they're still friends. The episode ends with Ruby hosting the party and everyone being sad. She has to convince them with like reverse psychology that she's here to stay and all is well. But Frank and Len still think she's a walking ghost or something, so. I won't be covering episode 2, but it is the start of these cute little intros and outros that are done before and after an episode, and they do them every single episode, all 40 of them, except for 2 episodes. But these are really cute because it's just various characters doing fun and quick things. There's kind of fourth wall breaks that are written off as the group of characters making videos for Gloomsville. We have Ruby, who makes her sock stuffed animal called Mr. Buns, who ends up being a repeating character throughout the show. We have her opening fan mail and blooper reels. Misery gives dating tips. But I think my favorite is Scaredy Bat trying to read children's stories and stopping like halfway through because he's just too scared of them. Episode 5, Iris goes missing, and the gang tries to find her. This episode, Skullboy says he must be from a long line of explorers and leads the search. When I tell you he says, I must be from a long line of something or other, every single episode. It's like his catchphrase at this point. But he leads the search badly. Ruby helps nudge him in the right direction with gentle hints on where to go. These interactions are actually really cute and leave at least Ruby blushing. Are they going to become a thing? I think this next episode is probably my favorite in the entire show. It's episode 8 and Frank and Len need a singer for their band Rip for Gloomapalooza, a festival that's coming up soon. Everyone sucks at singing except for Misery, but only when she's sleeping. They get her to go to sleep to practice for the upcoming festival, but can't get her to wake up. Ruby gives her basically a bowl of sugar, and now Misery is so wired that she can't sleep. It isn't until a couple minutes before their set that Poe's long-winded monologuing puts her back to sleep. It ends with everyone rocking out at Rip's awesome concert. Is that arsenic you're drinking? It's so good. Like, why is it so good? Episode 9, we get confirmation that Ruby does in fact like Skullboy after she swoons over him and Frank and Len realize through her eyeballs. Don't ask. It was a dream sequence. They try to wingman for Ruby, asking her if she wants them to ask Skullboy if he likes Ruby or not. Her answer, why? Everyone likes me, right? I can't tell if she's being naive or if she's purposely trying to get them to stop talking about it. On to episode 13. Now, I know I said 8 was my favorite episode, but this probably ties. This one is called Ruby Cubed. Ruby and Skullboy are practicing a Romeo and Juliet style play, and Skullboy feels like his acting isn't good enough, and ends up finding a Shakespearean style hat in a storage room. The hat is actually magic, and makes any girl who sees the person wearing the hat instantly fall in love with them. This backfires, however, when Iris and Misery are the only 2 girls to see him. They start chasing and stalking him like crazy fangirls, and while watching him from afar, they figure out that Skullboy might actually like Ruby, so they decide to dress up like her. Misery girly, I don't think that red wig is working for your purple complexion. This episode is so silly. With the hat off, of course, Ruby convinces Skullboy that he's a great actor, and he decides not to wear the hat anymore. Practice goes well as Ruby swoons and is impressed by Skullboy's acting ability, all without him wearing the hat. That's true love, folks. On to season 2. In episode 5, Misery's cousins come to visit, Milady and Melise. They visit for Misery's 7th anniversary of being rescued after being stuck on an iceberg. Alright. Misery says her cousins are cold, and everyone takes that figuratively. No, she meant actually cold. Apparently, when the 2 cousins are in close proximity to each other, they start the Ice Age. The irony.
Unbelievable. On the 7th anniversary of the day Misery was rescued from an ice floe, she's stuck on an ice floe.
I believe that is what is called onomatopoeia.
No, Len, it's not. It's irony.
Skullboy ends up saving her, and she's able to enjoy her cousin's visits while separated. The ice caps are melting. We do see her cousins appear again later, along with like 15 other ones in a Misery family reunion episode. I'm not going to cover that episode specifically, but just know that all the cousins are a really cool and interesting cast of characters who are actually all voiced by Misery's voice actor. The girl has put in some work. The next episode is also somewhat of a Misery focused episode. Can you tell I really like her? She's leaving this time to go visit her family, and when she does leave, so does the gloom around Gloomsville. The sun is shining, and everyone's enjoying a nice summer day until the sun gets too hot and everyone is practically melting. They devise a plan to go underground to go get Misery because they just have to follow the storm that is literally looming over her at all times. Skullboy, Iris, and Ruby go exploring and search for a while with no luck whatsoever. Ruby and Skullboy are starting to lose hope that they'll ever find Misery or that they'll ever get out of this cave system. And Ruby almost confesses her love for Skullboy, but gets interrupted by Iris when she tells her that Misery is back. But we were so close to the reveal! Onto episode 13 titled Skull in the Family. Skullboy puts out an ad in the paper to try to find his relatives. This older grandma-like skeleton shows up with her skeleton kid. They have Russian accents and claim to be members of Skullboy's family. Everyone takes them in with open arms, but Misery has a bad feeling about them. She thinks they're lying about being related to Skullboy, but has no proof really to back it up. The whole time these 2 people are looking for something valuable to steal, and everyone's just too nice to realize that they're trying to con them. Skullboy decides to give them something of value. A big hug, which actually makes them emotional, and that they confess they can't keep up this lie any longer because everyone is just too nice. They take off their skull masks and reveal that they are just humans who are trying to make a quick buck off of everyone. They apologize to Skullboy and the gang and make up, enjoying one last night of food and dancing. Now, let me tell you why I have beef with this episode. This is the 2nd time the show did an episode like this, and I hated both of them. I didn't cover it, but in season 1, episode 11, called Bad Hair Day, the group take in a sick bunny who is just pretending to be sick so he can steal everything in the house. I never like these episodes because it always makes one character look crazy or jealous. In the Schoolboy episode, no one believed Misery, and in the Bunny episode, everyone thinks Doom Kitty is jealous for being the only one to see past the bunny's facade. There's a similar type of episode in season 2 called Undergloom, where these foreign exchange student kids come stay with Ruby and them. The whole time they think everyone is trying to kill them, even though they're just trying to show these forwarders a fun time. The episode ends with them escaping the house and running away screaming. I saw online that someone said both Bad Hair Day, the Bunny episode, and Undergloom are seen as the worst rated Ruby Gloom episodes, and I think Skull and Family needs to be added to that list, because this trope sucks so much. Please stop doing it. Okay, soapbox rant over. Onto season 3, the last season. Ugh. The first episode is a really cute one. It's laundry day, and everyone is taking turns doing their laundry in a bucket in this weird cave area. I don't know. This house is weird, man. On the wall in this cave are ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics of everyone in the house. As they take turns, they all think this wall is some sort of prophecy that this queen is coming today for various reasons. And then you have Ruby, who thinks that aliens are coming because more of the wall came off and revealed a UFO over everything. Everyone waits outside for this visitor to come, and as they wait, a drone flies by with a small, tiny flying saucer. It gets dropped at their front doorstep. Everyone is scared of it, thinking that aliens are for sure gonna come out of that thing. Misery shows up to say that this is the package she's been waiting for. She rips it open and out flies a bunch of Egyptian costumes. Misery drew the paintings on the wall to plan her Egyptian-themed party. It ends with everyone dancing and having a good time. Oh boy, we got a 2-parter musical episode. Okay, but the songs actually kind of slap. It starts off with Schoolboy singing about not knowing who he is, a common theme we see throughout the show, and then it transitions into Ruby singing her own song, trying to cheer him up. Scaredy Bat sings about being afraid of everything. No surprise there. I think my favorite was Iris just singing straight gibberish. Like it makes no sense. And of course, Misery sings about how it could be worse, and it probably is. All while sleeping, of course. Schoolboy decides to leave the house and Gloomsville to join the Skellytoons jazz band. I didn't explain who the Skellytoons were because I thought they were one-off characters, but in a previous episode, Schoolboy is feeling bad about not having his own club for a club day, and he meets Skellytoons in the graveyard. They are a band of skeletons that play jazz music. They're actually kind of mean in their original episode. Schoolboy is the only one to interact with them, and they decide to hide whenever his friends come around, making his friends think that he's either going crazy or talking to imaginary people. And they think it's so funny to pop out after they're all gone. It's not my favorite episode by any means. Everyone does eventually find out that the band actually exists and Schoolboy wasn't just talking to himself, and it's fine. So that's who Schoolboy runs off to join. This of course makes everyone really sad, and the episode ends with Ruby singing a song about how much she misses him. The next episode picks up right where we left off with a slightly different rendition of the same song Ruby sings in the last episode, except this time everyone is singing it. Schoolboy sends him a postcard of how great everything is going, but that could not be further from the truth. When he gets there, he figures out really quickly that he's not really meant to be in this band. He basically has no musical talent whatsoever. Meanwhile, back at home, everyone is sad and moping around, while Ruby is trying really hard to cheer everyone up, even though she's probably the saddest out of all of them. They decide to take a trip to visit Schoolboy, but Schoolboy also decides at the same time to go home, that he needs to go back to Gloomsville and be with the people he considers family. They miss each other entirely, with Schoolboy returning home to no one being there. Thankfully, after Ruby finds and talks to Skellytoons, she realizes Schoolboy went all the way back home. They make it back and sing about how much of a family they are, so all is well in the world. I kinda wish this was the last episode. It felt very well-rounded, but with that being said, let's talk about the actual last 2 episodes of the entire show, because it's another 2-parter. 2 2-parters in 1 season? Oh boy. At least there's no music this time. In the first part, everyone is packed up and ready to go on a vacation, and they have to get on a fancy train to do so. They don't say where exactly they're going, but semantics. Poe is afraid of trains, so poor Bird is having a hell of a time. There's this weird looking short yellow guy on the train with them, and he's just kind of there existing, and everyone is really suspicious of him for some reason. Misery is sick and has to sneeze, so she decides to go on the very end, like, balcony portion of the train to do so. This causes the train to literally do the wave, causing the engineer, aka the guy controlling the train, to fly off of it. Schoolboy becomes the new engineer, because of course he thinks he must be from a long line of train conductors. It turns out to be fine, though. I don't really understand. I really thought they were going to crash. We get a to be continued screen after we find out that Poe is missing and Ruby thinks the weird yellow guy took him. And here is the last episode of the entire show. We get a small recap of everything that happened in the last episode, and for funsies, everything switches to a black and white detective scene with Ruby obviously being the detective. Skullboy comes back because the train is all good to run by itself, I guess. Cartoon logic. Ruby runs up to him and gives him a big hug, worried that maybe he had gone missing too. They share a cute glance with some blushing, and I hate to tell you that that is literally the rest of the romance. That's it. I'm so sad. But anywho, they search for Poe and can't find him literally anywhere. During this montage sequence, we do see a bunch of the old characters that have popped up in previous episodes existing around the train doing various things. They find the weird guy and chase after him, which causes Ruby to fall off of the train, and thankfully she is saved by a scaredy bat and a tape measure. They continue to chase after the guy who finally reveals himself after being cornered by them. Turns out he's a reporter, and he was observing the group the whole time so that they could win the True Friendship Award. It's actually a pretty big trophy. But where was Poe this entire time if the guy didn't have him? He got locked into a bathroom and fell asleep because he drank too much tea to try to calm his train anxiety. Poor guy. It ends with them picking up Doom Kitty from the kitty spa service and then walking home in their iconic silhouetted way from the intro, and that is everything on Ruby Gloom. This still didn't feel like much of an ending to me personally, but it did feel more like an ending than Growing Up Creepy did. I was really disappointed with that show. We did get to see a lot of the characters one last time, and it ended with how it began, essentially, so I can't be mad at it. We did not get to see a Ruby and Skullboy confession though, which we were robbed of, but all in all, I feel like the show wrapped up really nicely with it being cancelled. I was wondering why I had never heard of the show until I was researching like goth cartoon characters for this series. It's because it never premiered in the US. It's a Canadian show that premiered in a bunch of other countries, but not the US for some reason. Which is crazy because we got shows like Total Drama and 16, and those are Canadian. God, could you imagine if I never watched Total Drama Island because it like never aired in the US? I would be such a different person. Anywho, that is all. Let me know down below if you've ever watched Ruby Gloom. Did you grow up with it or did you find it later in life? And if you did watch it, what is your favorite episode and who is your favorite character? My favorite character has to be Scaredy Bat. That little guy can absolutely kill it on those drums.
One more time, please!
Okay, sure.
If you guys like this type of video, I have an entire playlist on my channel where I've covered Gwen and the Goths from the Total Drama franchise and Creepy from Growing Up Creepy, so be sure to check those out if they interest you. But yeah, if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I post new videos out every week, so don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload from me, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!